ghost stories. Let's go.
This creepy camping trip. Pretty straightforward. I was camping at a friend's family property with a group of friends. They had a huge creepy shop. We stayed up late drinking by the fire and I was the last one awake. Went to go pee on the side of the shop and stood about 5 feet away looking inside through the window. I noticed what looked like a piece of paper floating around. I thought it was a moth at first, but it was moving in a very rhythmic figure 8 pattern. Just a piece of paper flying around like this, perfectly. Then it quickly floated back to the corner of the shop where it was dark. That is creepy. Demon just trying to put together a paper plane, and he's like, meow. I sat back down by the fire to finish my beer, ew, hate beer, and smoke. You're disgusting. No one else was awake, so I played Robot Unicorn Attack 2 on my phone for a while. That sounds like an interesting game. I noticed my friend Mark pop out of his tent to pee and then go back in to go to sleep. Next morning, we're having breakfast and Mark said, I saw you guys sitting by the fire super late. How late did you stay up? I told him it was probably 2 or 3 a.m. When he asked who was up with me, I told him I was alone. But he said, when I got up to go pee, I saw you on your phone and 2 people over your shoulder watching you play. These demons are like, I want to get Rainbow Attack Unicorn 2. He said one person looked bigger, so he thought it was one of our friends, who was a bigger dude. He said the other person was taller and skinny, but none of us are noticeably tall or skinny. So demons are literally just watching you play a weird unicorn game on your phone. At least they're not bothering you. This life-saving premonition. Several years ago, I had a recurring dream about burning alive in a hotel. It was so realistic and I could feel the pain and hear screams. Each dream would be more and more detailed. Yeah, that is definitely a premonition. You should definitely listen to those. In my last one, I could even make out the exact details of the building. When my family went on vacation, we stopped in a small city and looked for a place to stay. We stopped at the exact hotel in my dream. I just froze and repeatedly asked if we could go somewhere else. I wouldn't ask, I would tell them, we are not staying here. We gotta go. I don't want to die. You can do it, but I'm not staying. After continuously pestering my parents about it, we went to a different hotel. And it burned down the night we were supposed to stay there, and it killed 14 people. Would have been, 17 if we had stayed there that night. That is crazy. You literally predicted the future. I predict songs on the radio. This grandma's secret diary. Dude, old people got some juicy secrets. Because back in their day, a lot more went down and they were not put in prison for it when they should have been. You know how many people I know that say they're pretty sure their grandpa specifically has killed people? A lot. When my mom retired, she got very into family history. At some point, she obtained the diary of my dad's mother, and she was an intensely private person and never wanted anyone to know her business. So why put it in a diary? Like, why can't you keep that just in your head where no one can read it? One night, my dad was away, so my mother sat down to read the diary, and it started raining. Nothing unusual since they lived on the coast. She got up to close a few windows before going back to the diary, but then the rain turned into a storm, so she got up to shut the windows in the other room too before returning to her reading. Suddenly, the intercom to her right turned on, and this used to be an electrician's house, so there was an intercom in every room, and they all turned on. When she went to turn the others off, she noticed all the pictures on the walls were askew. Just a little, all at similar angles, not random. That is some Conjuring crap. Meanwhile, the storm worsened. As she stood there taking it all in, an intense gust of wind rattled the windows from one end of the house to the other, as if a speeding train went past on the balcony outside. So she walked calmly upstairs, shut the diary, put it in the cupboard, and said, "Sorry, Nan," to the empty room. And then the storm just died down, and she fixed all the pictures, and that's that. That is a sign. But here's the kicker. Someone from her work lived on the same street, and when she saw him the next day, she mentioned the storm. And the guy looks at her funny and asked what storm she was talking about. He had dinner on the balcony that night, and there hadn't been any storm. Yo, grandma got something juicy in that diary. She confessed to a murder or something, and she does not want you to read it. But it's like, girl, you're dead. Not like you can have any consequences now. Just let me know. This tale of lost time. When I was 7 or 8, I was at my grandmother's house for Christmas. and played hide and seek with some of my cousins. Most of us were staying the night, but for some reason, no one ever stayed in the fourth bedroom. It was around 8 p.m., my turn to count, so I went into the fourth room to do so. I sat on the bed, closed my eyes, and counted to 20. When I opened my eyes, it was light out. I'd closed my eyes at night, counted to 20, and somehow 12 hours passed. And it didn't make any sense because he said in another paragraph that it's super cold in that house and they all would sleep together. So if he had fallen asleep, his parents would have come in and got him or at least given him a blanket. And also, why didn't his cousins come look for him if he had fallen asleep? He literally time traveled. The Vanishing Miner. When I was 14, my friend and I rode mountain bikes way out in the woods. We must have been 2 miles from any houses and decided to turn back and go home for the day. Walking up the hill we'd just ridden down, we saw this old guy with miner clothes from the 1800s carrying a bucket. He was walking up the hill with his back towards us, but only for a few seconds before he disappeared. Just whoop! I don't know what sound that was. We were both silent until I said I thought I saw something, and he did too and perfectly described the guy. We got out of there very quickly. This was in northern Arizona, where they used to mine gold. About a mile away, there was an old miner's cabin. Y'all just saw a dead guy. He's still looking for gold. This imposter brother. My brother's bedroom was next to mine growing up. One afternoon, he asked me what I was doing the previous night that made me laugh so much. Confused, I pressed him for details. He said that at 3 a.m. that night, my laughter woke him up. It sounded like I was pacing the room too. His face went pale when I told him I'd been at a friend's house that night. She wasn't even there, and he swears that it was his laugh. That ghost just messing with you. It's playing a game. This sweet scented goodbye. That sounds gross. My grandmother suffered a major stroke in 2012, resulting in hospice in her home. One night, I was sitting at home in my office catching up on some work when all of a sudden the room filled with the scent of perfume. I'm not talking about a faint smell. I'm saying it was very distinctive and strong throughout the entire room. I stopped everything I was doing and said out loud, "Something is wrong. That is Graham." Oh, is it her perfume? I had not spoken to my family that day, but felt an urgent need to send a text to my uncle who was staying with her. This was at 11:20 p.m. I got a response right away saying, "Might want to come say goodbye, not okay." And I quickly rushed over. Without saying anything, I walked straight to my grandmother and kissed her on the forehead, saying I love her. She was still warm, but no longer breathing. Ew! I told my uncle that I was there because Grandma had brought me there. I asked when she passed, and he replied saying 5 minutes before I sent my text. Well, then why didn't you tell me that? His text definitely made it sound like she was still alive, but close to dying. This puts the perfume in my office at nearly the exact same moment that she passed. Wow. Her spirit literally smells like perfume. That's kind of awesome. I want that skill when I die. This creepy childhood house. Fun, haunted house. The house I grew up in was haunted. Seriously, half of my friends say they had a haunted house growing up. Late at night, I would hear someone pacing circles in the living room, but I was the only one awake and we didn't have pets. I never said anything because I didn't want my family to think I was crazy. Eventually, I moved out and went to college, and after I graduated, I was in a rough spot financially. Yeah, college loans, like... My parents had bought a new house and offered to let me stay in the old one for a while they considered renters. When I said no, my mom asked why. And I finally gave in and told her what I'd heard. And my mom froze and told me that she had been hearing the exact same thing for years, but didn't say anything for the same reason. Like you both going to the cuckoo house together. And finally, this vacation visitor. Me and my family went on a holiday to Indonesia in 2019, and I shared a room with my sister. First morning, she mentioned that in the night, she'd seen someone walk across our room and stare out the window. She'd even heard the floorboards creak as they moved. But my sister gets sleep paralysis pretty regularly, so we shrug it off. 2 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night to see someone sat at the end of my bed, hands cupping their face as they cried. I thought it was my sister and asked if she was okay. And I froze as I realized I could see my sister tucked up in her bed out of the corner of my eye. That's not your sister, that's La Llorona doing the fake cry so she can take your soul. The figure, which was like a living silhouette, was clearly female with long hair tied back in a ponytail. I just kind of slowly laid back down, took out my phone, and started watching YouTube videos. Like, just gonna try to ignore you. Please don't pop up behind my phone. I know it sounds stupid, but I figured there wasn't much else I could do. Yeah, it's true. Every now and then I'd look up and see the figure still there and then went back to watching videos. Lasted about half an hour until I looked up and she was gone. She just wanted to chill with you for a minute, like best friends that don't actually need to talk. They just sit next to each other and go on their phones. She's like, why y'all in my house every year for like 2 weeks? I don't like it. But that is it. Love some creepy ghost stories. Comment below if you have your own. I know a lot of people live in haunted houses for some reason. But that's it. Go ahead, click the screen to watch another video and subscribe. I'll see you later.